In the name of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, we begin. During the dark days of the First World War, a humble French nun named Claire Ferchaud believed she received a mission from the Lord Himself. A mission not for herself alone, but for all of France. Known as a devout soul of the Sacred Heart, she was called from a quiet life of prayer to do the unthinkable, to carry heaven's plea to the nation's leader, President Jerome. From a small convent at Convent of Renfilia in Lublin, this hidden sister stepped onto the stage of history, trusting only in the voice of Christ speaking within her heart. In a quiet corner of France, in the village of Puy-Saint-Bonnet, near Saint-Laurent-sur-Savière, a child was born on May 5, 1896, a child whom heaven would one day call into a mysterious and suffering mission. Claire Ferchaud grew up in a deeply Christian family, one of 6 children raised in prayer, sacrifice, and trust in God. And on their land stood a small chapel dedicated to Our Lady of Garde, a silent witness to the faith that shaped her soul from the beginning. As a little girl at the School of the Sacred Heart, she spoke with disarming simplicity of visits from Jesus Christ and the Holy Virgin Mary, as though heaven were not far away, but close enough to touch, close enough to whisper. When the First World War erupted and the world trembled in violence, Claire was 20 years old and 2 of her brothers were taken to war, and in the anguish of those days, she entered retreat seeking only God, and there, at the end of 1916, Christ appeared to her twice, on November the 28th and December the 16th, showing His heart lacerated by the sins of humanity and wounded even more deeply by the cold denial of atheism, a vision so painful and overwhelming that she confided it to a parish priest, who urged her to write everything down so that nothing heaven revealed would be lost. Yet, the path of those chosen for suffering is never easy, and on December the 28th, 1916, she found herself questioned before an episcopal commission, misunderstood and tested, but inwardly she carried a certainty that would not leave her, that Christ had entrusted her with a mission for France itself, a mission to call the nation back to God. She believed she must reach the president, Raymond Poincaré, and urge him to return the country to Christian civilization, to oppose the forces that sought to erase God from public life, and to place the image of the Sacred Heart upon the tricolor flag, so that France would once again proclaim who was truly king. Against all expectation, this hidden young woman was received at the palace on March 21st, 1917, where she delivered heaven's plea with courage born not of herself, but of confidence. The Sacred Heart wants France to officially recognize God as Master. France must show that religion is no longer persecuted there by agreeing to paint the Sacred Heart on its flag. Words that sounded almost impossible amid the machinery of politics and war. The president pointed out that he was not the sole decision maker, that he could not undo laws without the Chamber of Deputies, and above all that nothing could be changed on the flag. He nevertheless promised Claire to put the question to the Chamber of Deputies. He obviously did nothing. Faced with the president's silence, the young woman sent him a second letter on May the 1st, which also remained unanswered. Though her appeal was largely ignored, devotion to the Sacred Heart spread quietly among soldiers in the trenches, carried like a hidden flame through mud and fear, and one general consecrated the Allied forces to the Sacred Heart on July 16, 1918, an act many would later remember when victory came. Refusing to surrender to discouragement, Claire returned home and founded a small community of young women who offered their lives in reparation to Jesus, taking the name Sister Claire of the Crucified Jesus, and establishing a humble convent called the House of the Sacred Heart, where prayer rose day and night like incense for a wounded world, drawing pilgrims who came seeking grace and consolation. Unfortunately, Claire Ferchaud's statements were disavowed on March 12, 1920, by a decree of the Holy Office, estimating that the facts of Lublin cannot be approved. The setbacks did not stop there, because in October of 1940, the new bishop of the region suppressed the privileges of the chapel, leading to its closure. Fortunately, The chapel reopened its doors to the public in July of 1964, thanks to Cardinal Ottaviani, pro-prefect of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. Years passed and trials continued, her visions questioned, her works restricted, even the chapel closed for a time. Yet, like the Sacred Heart she loved, her vocation remained pierced but faithful, sustained only by the love for the Church and for France. Until a final day, she carried another vision, one she had seen as a child, of an immense cross touching the sky, the base of which was formed by 4 altars oriented towards the 4 cardinal points, where priests succeeded each other day and night to celebrate the Holy Mass, a vision of unending prayer rising for the salvation of nations. As a humble victim of atonement, Claire's life was entirely dedicated to revealing to the world 2 successive messages, which are not just completing each other, but are closely knit together so as to form one whole. The message of the bruised heart of Jesus and his most urgent request, the institution of the perpetual Mass for the salvation of the world. In 1955, during a pilgrimage to San Giovanni Rotondo, 2 French priests came to seek the wisdom of Padre Pio. They told him about the mission entrusted to Claire Ferchaud by the Sacred Heart of Jesus, especially her call for the perpetual Mass, a Mass offered continuously, day and night, for the salvation of souls and the conversion of nations. After listening in silence, Padre Pio gave a reply that struck them with awe. He said simply and firmly, "Nothing could be more pleasing to God than the institution of the perpetual Mass." On January the 29th, 1972, in the same land where her mission began, Sister Claire surrendered her soul to God at the age of 75, leaving behind not power or recognition, but the quiet testimony of a life offered completely, and on her tomb were written the words that perhaps explains everything. Humble victim of expiation, she was obedient unto death in the love of the Church and of France. Servant of God, Sister Claire Ferchaud, pray for us.